Welcome to the 15th episode of the Most Serious Podcast. In today's episode, I talk to Ekta Dikshit ma'am, who is a professional psychologist and a life and relationship coach as well. I was very excited to talk to her because I'm a big fan of human psychology and why do people do what they do. In this episode, we discuss exactly that. We talk all about self discovery, we talk all about psychology, we talk about relationships. We also discuss about the psychology behind social media and how important is it to catch ourselves, to be mindful through the whole experience of life. I personally enjoyed a lot recording this episode, and I'm sure the experience will be same for you. Let's get into the episode now. Ekta Dikshit ma'am, welcome to the Most Serious Podcast. Thank you for doing this.
Thank you so much for having me. And I think before we begin, I would really love to know about what exactly do you mean by the most serious podcast? I think I'm going to interview you too, for that matter. So,
You
what's
know,
this most serious podcast?
it's a very interesting story, and I thought like I'll cover this later when I get to many. I've done like quite some episodes, and then people get to wonder like why did he name it the Most Serious Podcast, because it doesn't have a very serious vibe. I don't take very intellectual. I take intellectual questions, I think, but I don't take very on point, precise classroom type questions. So this started, I
Hmm.
called it the Most Serious Podcast because it started as a joke. I didn't mean it to be a serious
Okay.
podcast at all. I
More
started
sort of a
this,
personal adventure.
yeah.
Mhm.
So
Okay,
I just
okay.
wanted to get started, and couldn't think of a name. All the generic names were taken, so I thought this would justify the purpose of doing this podcast. Let's call it the Most Serious Podcast.
I think that stands out too, but I really love the name, by the way. Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. So, Ekta ma'am, as we discussed, I'll call you Ekta ma'am till I get comfortable, or could call you something else. But I really admire. First of all, I wanna thank you for coming on because I just was waiting so keenly to have someone who I can talk about psychology, human behavior, and all of that stuff. Because I'm not I'm not very active. I am a lazy person who wants to get knowledge, and I believe conversations are the way to go. So, thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, I think today in day to day, in our approach, I think even in our day to day confrontation, we do come across a lot of conversations that are very much filled with wisdom. So I think it's one of the best way to sort of gain more knowledge and also perspective towards different areas. So that's great.
Now, for the next whatever time we record this episode for 40-45 minutes, I'll keenly pick your brain out on topics that I was always waiting to ask people about, So, if you feel like I'm getting too annoying with all the precise details, so just let me know.
Absolutely, yes. I'll surely do so.
So, Acha, let's get started with one personal question. Tell
Mhm.
me, is there something wrong with me if I can't watch movies? I feel like I fell asleep watching a movie last night also, and there's this constant struggle that goes on with me when I'm trying to do something, and it has to, it is not intellectually stimulating me all the time. I just feel like I could listen to a 50-minute podcast, but I couldn't watch a movie which I just get bored of in a the starting 10-15 minutes, and it could turn out to be a good movie, but I just don't have that drive to watch or binge watch TV shows. So what's your take on that?
So basically, for all of us, how human psychology works is we all have different five senses, right? And out of all the five senses that we have, the most active is what I'm talking about. Otherwise, we have six senses. But talking about the major five senses that we have, everyone has one sense which is up leveling than the other ones. Now, someone can be a visual learner, some can be an auditory learner, some can be kinesthetic in their nature. So what happens is for all of us, we have different sort of learnings, we have different adaptation. One of our senses works much more and dominates the other rest of the sense. So what happens for you is maybe your visual learning, sense is not much more active as your auditory. That's why you are more keen in terms of listening to something rather than watching something. Maybe that does not really excite you. Maybe that does not really sink in your subconscious mind as a learning per se. So what happens is, for you, you are more of an auditory learner, or maybe someone who grasps more of the information. You call it general information. For that matter, I'm so sure even in a normal conversation, you might be much more auditory in nature. Where even if someone is far off having a conversation, you would be much more keen in listening to that. Why? Because
Yeah.
your auditory is definitely much more active and more powerful than any other senses. So there's absolutely no wrong. I think good that podcast came up, and we also have there are a lot of such apps that read books. They're auditory
Mm.
books, okay,
Mm.
audio books. I think over the period of time, people have realized that not everyone is a visual learner. But let me just give you a fair brief idea that 65% of population is a visual learner. The
Mm.
rest are the
Makes sense.
concoction of all. So that's why people love watching movies, but not everyone does. Um, that does not excite everyone because everyone's senses are definitely functioning on different frequency. For you, I think audio is on the higher frequency, which is why I think you're much more inclined towards it.
When I was in, I don't know if I remember it correctly, ninth or 10th grade. So I got into this habit of reading books. I read books earlier when I was a child also, but I liked reading books. And that time I found out these self-help books. I read authors
Hmm.
like Robin Sharma and Paulo Coelho and people like that. And I found a very magical vibe associated with those books. There are moments when you just read and you put the book down and you think about your life. So that put me on
Absolutely.
that road to think about stuff. I think that's when I really consciously thought about why people do what they do, or why do I do what I do. So and they that brought up a very fancy word called self mastery, and I believe you're a
Yeah, I
well.
think that's self. Well, I was with that because self mastery was one of a term which was being discovered by Robin Sharma because he truly believes that everyone has a skill to master their own self, their potential, maybe expand their own horizons. So this was basically discovered by Robin Sharma. But when you spoke about Paulo Coelho, let me just give you a little just about how I started. My inclination towards I think books was to do with when I was a teen, I used to like reading those comic books, not comic per se, but you remember as a child in India we used to get this champak books
Yeah,
where
yeah,
you
I've read a
have
lot of
these.
them. uh,
So I started with champak books, especially during my summer vacation. I used to actually go and stay at my aunt's place. I used to read those champak books. I used to literally enjoy because, especially during the afternoons, right? The afternoons in a normal Indian household, everyone would just go off to sleep, take that quick nap.
mhm,
And
mhm.
what I would do is I would just lay there by the window and read those champak books. And I still remember the moment because it was so much refreshing for me. People would come and say that, why don't you just take a nap? And I would be like, no, I think this is more exciting. So I still remember once I got 21 Champak books, which I completed in I think in a go, like in within a week. And I
Wow.
realized, oh, this is exciting. And after this, I started with Paulo Coelho. And for me, the transformational journey happened when I read Alchemist. And I think for
Mm.
most people, their transformation, I think more to do with the self mastery, what you said, was actually began with Alchemist because it's truly filled with wisdom. It has that sense of which puts you into a state to self evaluate that what exactly you're doing, why you're doing what you're doing. And one thing that I truly loved about that book was no matter where you go to find out the real jewels of your life. I'm not talking about the materialistic jewels, but about your values, your principles, I think the fundamentals of your life. So I think I realized that it's not somewhere far away from you. It's right there within you. And after you finish The Alchemist, that's what it teaches you in the end. That
Yeah.
he tried to find out what he was looking for all across, but then he found right there in his vicinity. And that's when you start relating things to your personal life.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think what you said was much more relatable to me, and I think for all the audience listening right now, for them, I'm so sure they will relate to this fact.
So, like, and I was talking to one of my friends in the past days, and we got started on this abstract idea of self mastery. And we talked about like self mastery is obviously what is it? It's a journey, I think. The best way to put it is a journey.
I think it's a self-discovery is what you would call it in a very layman's term, where learn to know yourself,
Okay.
your values, your principles. It's your own discovery. You know yourself.
Hmm.
You get to know your potentials.
So, like, do you think self mastery is a point? Is a time defined point?
Self
Is a
mastery is where you master your skills. Simple as
okay.
that. Suppose if you're great at decision making,
Hmm.
okay, you self mastery is when you understand what your strengths are and you master that skill. Now, for not everyone, the skill that you own and you are master at, not everyone will have the same set of skills that they are great at, right?
Right.
Someone might be great at communication, like you are. Someone might be great at, say, be a good listener. Someone can be great at making decisions. Someone might be great at empathy. So everyone has different skills. And when we talk about self mastery, in a very layman's term, it's just you start mastering your own potential, your strengths. That's self mastery,
Hmm. How do
where you
you?
expand your
Huh.
comfort zone. That's self
So,
mastery.
how do you like get into that curiosity mode? Because, like, for you and me, we got started on the books, and that kind of led to this side of us thinking about why we do what we do. But why do you think, or do you think, most of the people get started on this journey a bit late, or when do they get started? How do they get started? Because you must have dealt with a lot of people. So, do you find a commonness in the experiences that people have regarding self discovery?
I'll be very honest, for everyone, it's very different. See, it's no one size fit all.
Hmm.
For some, they've been able to discover their own potential at a very young age, especially considering my audience base that I have right now. They are all filled with millennials, okay?
Hmm.
Youth, young adults. You talk about age group from 15 and so on. So you realize that they're learning to master their own skills. They're learning to master their own strengths. They're learning to know themselves. That's the point. Knowing themselves is one of the big thing. I think today, unfortunately, most of them, approximately 72% of people really don't know what do they want in their life, or what exactly are their desires, their wants, or maybe what is it that they look up to. You
Hmm.
ask your parents and they'll be like, हाँ ठीक है जैसे चल रहे हैं. I mean, we are not really sure. I mean, I'm just giving a basic example about it, right?
Hmm.
So what happens is we ask our forefathers, we ask our family members. Not everyone knows. So when you talk about the self discovery, it's a tailor made thing. It completely depends on a person. When the person thinks, and what happens when it comes to self discovery, right? When someone comes across an obstacle or maybe a difficult phase of their life, that's when they realize it's time to change it. See, unless and until you don't fall
Hmm.
into the pit, you don't realize. You don't realize there's something
Right.
wrong. Only when you think, यार ये बहुत ज़्यादा हो गया है अब, and things are just running out of your hand, that's when you realize. Even for a lot of millennials, when they realize, oh my God, I'm 25, still don't know what do I want to do in my career. Okay, that's when they start exploring their horizons, their potential. That's when self mastery comes into the picture and self discovery comes into the picture. So, for me, for all these almost more than a decade that I've been in the industry, I realized that it's no one size fit all. It's very different for everyone. It's tailor made depending upon what experience you are going through. And it's only your experience that can shape you and change you. For people who've experienced something so grave and deep in their life, that's when they realize, let's
Mm,
just transform. So for everyone, it's different. For someone who is at the age of 40, only that time it's like, oh, you know what? Okay, here's the aha moment. I need to change. Or for someone at the age of 15, they realize, oh, no, here's my aha moment. I need to change. So for everyone, your transformational period is different depending upon how much self-evaluation you are doing. And unfortunately, I'll be very honest, Ripu, I'm seeing one thing that for a lot of people they don't really do self evaluation. They don't give more importance to it. By the end of the day there has to be this one period where you give to yourself and you tell yourself, how was my day, what did I learn, what were the things that didn't work for me. And I think for most of us हम just चल रहे
mm.
हैं दिन कट रहा है. We do not wake up with an intention to do ABC. And the moment when you realize you go through an experience which is very much grave is when your discovery begins. That's the point.
I was thinking about this before it took like a serious turn. I was thinking about this question that popped up in my mind, like how do you differentiate in your clients, like when they come up to you or when they message you, contact you, and tell you, Ekta ma'am, it's the middle of the night, and last night I realized that yeah, now I want to go on a self discovery route, and they get that midnight rush of sorting their life out. And so how do you how do you know that that's not my calling, that's just a period of panic wherein I'm trying to
No,
do
but
all
I'll
of
tell
things.
you, it's usually to do with when you talk about the calling. I'm so sorry to cut you off, but I'll
Yeah.
just put something here. With a lot of people, it's never that one moment that hits you. It's always a concoction of a lot of experiences in your life. That day one, day two, day three, maybe since a year you've been going through experiencing something, and now that you think that you need to take a call, it's never
Mhm.
one day. It's always a set of experiences, the unpleasant experiences that add up to that one day where someone calls and says, you know what, this is not working out for me. Can you please help me? So it's never
Mm.
like no one, even for you everything's going well, but one day that you think that maybe I need to think about my life, or maybe I need to review my life, what exactly am I doing. It's never that one day. You'll think for 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, maybe for a month together, and then one day you feel okay, I need to get into coaching, or maybe I really need counseling at the moment. So people just don't take call in a go, never.
Do you think it's because of, as you mentioned, like you deal with a lot of millennials also, so do you think it's a cause effect relationship with internet, or was it always the same?
No, it was, see, we can say with internet and social media, that does add up in terms of influence, that
Mm.
it's influencing your life, how you're living now. For example, for a lot of young teens, they feel that living is normal because that's what they see on social media. I'm
Mm.
not trying to deny the living or no living. I'm not promoting that. I'm not denying it. Nowhere. I'm just giving an example that how social media has been influencing. See, for us, to be honest, social media is one of the biggest, I think, blessing along with some curse. Depending upon how are you using it. Are you using it? Are you abusing it? That's the point. So for
Mm.
millennials
Very well said.
or youngsters, it's always about, when you think, when you've been experiencing something unpleasant for over a period of time, even before social media had come into the picture. Even at that time, of course, people would, today, best part is because of social media, I think people are coming on the forefront much earlier than what we were seeing like 10 to 20 years back. At least at that time, people at the age of 35 or 40, they would feel, yeah, I'm feeling midlife crisis at this moment. Okay. And that's when they would come to counseling or maybe coaching. That's when they would realize that I am slogging and I'm doing something that does not have my heart. Maybe
Mm.
I'm not liking it. Maybe I'm not enjoying it. So for that matter, I think youngsters in some way, they are definitely looking at social media and accepting that it's okay to come forward and explore yourself, your potential.
We are creating a group of woke individuals. I think your community is
Absolutely.
filled with those people. I really like your Instagram community. I'm a big fan of it. You provide very
Thank
valuable
you so much.
stuff there.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
But so I was, have you seen that documentary, Social Dilemma, on Netflix?
I I did. I did. And
What's
I
your
think
view?
I did this I think I did this last lockdown. And it first of all it blew my mind, to be honest, because I realized it really spoke about a lot of perspective that people don't know. It's it's behind the scenes wala situation.
Ah,
Okay,
exactly.
so for a lot of people, they don't know that you've been spending like nearly 2 hours, 8 hours on social media scrolling through your feed, but you don't realize it's not. It's basically consuming you. You are not consuming it. Of course, it's there, but it's
Hmm.
consuming you also. And this is how your 2 minutes turns into 2 hours. You don't realize.
Hmm.
You've been constantly consuming. And what best part, my take on the social dilemma was this one factor, that why people usually see the kind of ads that they see, or maybe the kind of content that they see. If you've consumed content couple of times on, say, some cringe dance or maybe some dialogues, that's what you're going to see. That's what you are going to come across henceforth,
Right.
because the algorithm has caught you, knows what really gets your attention.
Hmm.
And this is what happens. I'll like to put this in a very day-to-day term. For not everyone really consumes social media. For me, I've always been a less consumer. I'll be very honest on this. Though I'm on social media, and I'm now influencing approximately 90,000 people, but I do not consume content. I just, I would give, say, like 10-20 minutes of it maximum in the entire day, but I'll not consume. But yes, I'll make sure that if there, what I consume is the quality, which is if something is really resonating with me, helping me in terms of self mastery, like you said, then I would stay there for a while. And I also know that it's a black hole. The more I get into it, the more it's going to consume me. So I need to make
Hmm.
sure where to draw the line. And unfortunately, youth does not know this. Most of them, they don't know this. Where to draw the
Coaches,
boundary.
I just want to say coaches don't play. And you're a prime example of that. You've been
I
dominating
agree to
social
that.
media. Yeah.
But I think one thing, because I still remember, it's all about catching yourself. I'll be honest. It's all about catching yourself, getting into habits that are not allowing you to grow. For me, I still remember, which was, I think, a couple of months back, when I realized it was this period of couple of days. And I still know it because I'm someone who is a strong believer of self evaluation, of self like self what do you call it, like self scrutiny is what I
Hmm.
say. So you scrutinize your actions. How are you doing? What are you doing? Is it helping you? Is it not helping you? So I still remember a couple of months back, I there were these couple of days, maybe I think 3 to 4 days, when I literally consumed a lot of cringe content. I will be honest,
Hmm.
cringe content. I'll just look at it. I'll just be, oh, okay. And I realized that, okay, it's consuming a lot of my time. So I had to catch myself. And that's what happens. If you really want to grow in your life, you have to learn the art of catching yourself. And that's how discipline comes into the play. That you become more disciplined about your life, about what you need to focus upon. So today I do consume content which are more therapeutic in nature. For example, I love watching dog videos because they're so therapeutic. Makes me feel good, but I also know where to draw the line.
Hmm.
So I know after watching it for some time, maybe say 3-4 minutes, I know I have to draw the line. That's it. So that's the most important factor. Learn the art of catching yourself. And deviating from that and putting yourself into something which is going to help you grow.
There's this term that is very, I'm sure you're familiar with it a lot, and people struggle with it a lot these days. I think I do also. It's instant gratification. And I think it also comes in the horizon of what we're talking about here. Because catching
Absolutely, yes.
yourself only gets, only is applicable to things that are really gratifying to do in the short term. Because you don't catch yourself not studying.
Absolutely.
You
I
make
agree for
sure
that.
if you studied like half an hour, if you've done your work job like 30 minutes 45 minutes, you'll make sure हाँ भाई 45 minutes I've worked. पता है मेरे को पता चले
No,
45
but
minutes.
I'll tell you what. In that case, I would really, since you love exploring a lot of things in terms of psychology, I'll tell you one term which is known as bedtime revenge.
Okay.
Okay, it's called bedtime revenge procrastination. You know what that is?
No.
Basically, bedtime revenge procrastination is, if you know a lot of people, if they spend lot of time on social media scrolling or doing something or maybe just shopping before they go to bed, knowing that it's too late, but they still do it, thinking it's me time.
Hmm.
You know what that is?
Hmm.
That is called bedtime revenge procrastination, which means that I have done a lot of work. I need to have a me time now. But what happens? It basically makes you believe that again tomorrow is going to come and that tomorrow is going to bring a lot of responsibility. And again, I have to get into that whole rut. So rather, I just give myself some time by either scrolling through social media. But you don't know that this bedtime revenge procrastination is not really helping you. Okay, even if you want to consume or give yourself the me time, why not know a particular boundary that you're supposed to have? Unfortunately, people don't, and that's very important. So to get off this revenge bedtime procrastination, you have to learn that even if I'm giving myself some time, there has to be a specific time period. Shouldn't be beyond say 12 a.m. Shouldn't be it should be like say 9 to 9:15 p.m. Something like that. So even if you're giving yourself time, it's not really going to drain you, because the
Hmm.
mindset
I
behind
agree.
this is what people do scrolling is फिर से कल आने वाला है, फिर से
Hmm.
कल वही काम करना है, फिर से I have to get back to the same thing again and again and again. I rather just give myself some time. That's
Hmm.
the point. That's the mindset. That's the psychology behind what people do with that midnight scrolling.
I
They call
think
it me time. That's it.
what you talked about, like giving yourself a time window in which you're consuming that content, I've tried that myself also. And you know what I found the best part
Mhm.
about it? It was like I was very conscious of the content I was consuming because I only have 15 minutes. I don't want to waste it.
Exactly. Exactly. That's the catch. And I think that's the secret which we usually don't reveal, but I think you revealed it now. Ta-da! So it's like that now.
I'm sorry.
But yeah, that's the no, it's a good thing. I mean, for all the
That's
listeners here, so it's a good part that even if you give yourself a window, you have to know what quality are you consuming.
exactly.
So, Alan, yeah, because you definitely don't want to waste watching something that that's not really helping you. Maybe you're not much interested in the cliche content or maybe the cringe content. You don't want to do that. Oh, let me just go through something that catches my attention. I want to just be there and watch the content.
I also wanted to talk to you about relationships, and I wanted to know, like, I see this around myself, probably in my generation, I don't know, but people certainly, sometimes there are situations when you get to know what the situation is about, right? So you know why a certain, it could be a friend or it could be a parent, it could be a cousin, it could be a romantic relationship. You know what the situation is all about, but people have no freaking clue what to do about it. So like it must be a very individualistic approach I think you take on situations. But is there something like why people are not as socially, what's the right word, knowledgeable, I don't know, accustomed to deal with relationship issues? Or
Or I would say inclusive.
yeah, I think that's a better word. So why do you think that happens a lot?
Okay, so if I have to sum this up, what you said. You basically, like what you're asking is, despite of knowing that you are in a relationship, say with whatever your relationships are, your parents, your cousin, your peers, your colleagues, your boss, your blah blah blah, and you still do not put yourself all out there, is what you're saying? Okay.
I
You know,
believe.
for a
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but
please go ahead.
let me like more clarify this more. So let's say there's a situation wherein I didn't communicate well enough, right? Now I
Mhm.
know that I didn't put myself across as clearly as I should have, maybe, let's say. And now I know how the
Mhm.
situation turns out. Okay, I know what the other person is feeling, but I don't know what can I do right now. And I see this also, like people want to get impulsive results, and it's really hard to empathize for the other person, that they don't have it on and off switch, and you have to accept the fact that people take time to process things. So I think I find myself, and also I've talked to my friends, and people find themselves in situations where they don't know like how to react in these social situations. What should I say, what should I do?
I'll tell you one thing. When it comes to relationship, the only issue that we have is that the information is really, I would say, encrypted.
Hmm.
What I am trying to put out is not being consumed the same way. Sometimes
Okay.
it's so misconstrued in nature, and that's what happens in any relationship. So for example, the example that you gave me right now, that sometimes we want 2 minute Maggie, quick results, right?
uh,
So it's
uh,
like that. And when we don't see the results, we get very much impulsive. So it's not about the other person, it's about us, because somewhere we do not have the resilience, and somewhere we lack the patience. So, in that case, when there are two parties involved and we want the change to happen, first of all, the change has to be mutual in nature, where we create a win win situation for all the parties together. Also, what happens is when you talk about the change, right? Unfortunately, we always look at the bigger picture, that we want to change in a bigger sense. But we forget that that big will need to have baby steps. So instead of deciding on this bigger change, start with small baby steps. That today onwards, I'll begin with this. Are you okay with it? And then you
hmm.
take step two, and then you take step three, you take step four, and there will come a moment and a time where you'll be like, okay, I've reached where I wanted to reach. And this has a great benefit because some of you both learn to accept the process is tedious in nature. It's not a 2 minute Maggie. It takes time, it takes effort, it takes lots of persuasion. Okay. And also one that's there, that you start believing in the process, and also it builds your resilience towards it, but you realize that we need to go one thing at a time. So for you, when you mentioned that you want instant results, why don't so looking at the bigger picture, start taking steps that are tiny in nature, that you both accept, okay, which are easy and more achievable in nature. You say
Understandable.
like today onwards, if say, I'm just giving an example, that say if I am a smoker who smokes like the entire packet a day, okay, and my partner says I have to stop smoking. So instead of saying that what, I'm going to do that, and the
Hmm.
partner says that you have to do it right away, why not come to a midpoint where you both create a win-win situation for each other, where you say, okay, you know what, how about I begin with, say, 3 a day, 4 a day, which is for me and for you both. And there will come a point where we will reach the point where there's going to be a non-smoking period anymore. So here on, I mean, so what you've done, you've built a resilience, you've created a win-win, you've understood that this is more practical in nature. Instead of being impulsive when you want the change, which can look like a mountain right in front of you and pretty
Right.
much impractical.
On
So with
the
any
yeah.
relationship, you will have to get into it. That's the point. Unfortunately, I see with a lot of couples, they do not get into the action. They want to change, but actions are missing. Now, what
Hmm.
happens for a lot of people, actions are missing because just like I mentioned, when you look at a bigger picture, you overwhelm yourself. It's too much to do. That's what happens when you decide that, you know what, today I want to finish this entire book. You look at it and you're like, oh my God, this is too much to handle.
Hmm.
Okay. But rather you give yourself something which is much more achievable. Say, I'll finish one chapter a day today, which is possible for me. So it has to be tailor made. You have to, so when you talk about relations, if you have to work things out, it has to be tailor made for both of you. It's never one size fit all.
Do you think people struggle with, as you mentioned, like taking on overwhelming tasks? Also, is there a psychological viewpoint on this that people love to take on overwhelming tasks at once?
Yeah, see, for a lot of people, they either think that I definitely want to take up this because one, they do have a sense of belief that I'll be able to do it. So of course, you know you have a willpower. That's
Okay.
one. Second, for a lot of people, forget that if you looked at something, you want to finish it. Either you believe that you can do it, that you have the will to do it, and second, if you're not able to do it, maybe you've not really gave it a right structure and you haven't constructed it well with right approach to it. That's why you're lacking behind. So when you talk about psychology behind why people take up things which are beyond their potential, it's because one they feel कि यार पता नहीं आगे कितना time है क्या है. I don't know. I rather want to wrap it up as soon as possible and finish it up. But then you forget that when you overwhelm yourself, your brain reduces your functioning and productivity capacity to 50%. Do you know that? So when
No.
you look at something which is bigger in nature, your brain will reduce its fighting capacity, its functioning capacity to 50%. That's why
Wow.
it said start taking baby steps, small thing at a time. Now, this is what happened with me yesterday. I'll tell you because I had a lot of things to finish. Also because I don't know if you're aware that I started with a 21-day personal growth challenge
Yeah.
on my Instagram channel. So I had a lot of things to finish. So when I looked at the picture and I realized, oh my God, there's so much to do. Because one, you are running an Instagram channel, so you have a basic things to do, like a day-to-day thing to do. Apart from that, you also have this challenge to finish. Also, you want to make sure that you're reaching out to every single person. I do have a team, but see, for me, I realize one thing that what you do is what's your task is going to be your task.
Hmm.
Okay. So you have to do your job. So for me, I realized I've overwhelmed myself so much that I forgot that I have to chunk it down into small baby steps. So then you rectify. You rectify.
Hmm.
Like I mentioned, get into the act of catching yourself. So being a coach, to be honest, everyone does mistake, right? Even for me, humans are fallible. And there are chances that even I get into the rut of it. So there are chances I need to start rectifying it. And what really matters is it's okay to make mistakes, but you need to rectify it. Also, after what happened, I also came across a medical emergency yesterday, and which is why there were a lot of, there was a hustle bustle around the same. So what happens? I reduced my capacity to function to 50%. So, because what happens when you look at something, oh my God, it's too big, the clarity goes out of toss. You can't think clearly. You don't make rational decisions. You don't know how to
Hmm.
function well. That's what happens. So, with the overwhelming part, people do feel they get into it because they feel they have the will and they have the capacity to function. But here's the catch that if you even overwhelm yourself, chunk it down. That's the point.
That was mind blowing, and that was the kind of thing that I really wanted to get to know out of this talk. And I think yeah, that it felt amazing because I now it makes so much sense because when you think about this, now I view it like now it's giving me flashes of times when I have took up work that I was sure that I will not be able to finish, but I just gave myself that fall presumption of knowing कि हाँ हो जाएगा, we'll get to do this or ये, and then you get into that guilt also, and you can't accept it because you've taken up that work, and you can't even do it. So I think that's a very dangerous
But I'll
cycle.
tell you, get into the habit of chunking it down. And one habit that I've been having, also because I've from my growing years, I saw my father doing it, always jotting down, having
Hmm.
maintaining a diary where you have a planner. You know what exactly are the things that you want to finish. It's just not this. So, for example, if I say that I have just a 21-day personal growth challenge, what are the things that I'm supposed to do? I'm going to brief it down into what are the matters I'm going to talk about. Then you chunk it down to the write up, and then you chunk it down to the audio recording, then you chunk it down to publishing it. So what you do is you're creating a mind map for it. So this after the other and the other and the other. So what happens? It gives you more clarity. You know that you've given yourself much more measurable goal than something that's going to blow you off completely. And suppose if I tell myself I have to finish this challenge, I have to do this, but then I don't chunk it down. I'm going to be like, this is so much to do, yeah. This is so much to do, and I'm just going to be there, literally crying over it, that there's so much to do, and I've reduced my capacity. I don't have the clarity. I don't know what exactly to do. I might mess it up, but what
Hmm.
about you chunk it down? There will be time that even when you chunk it down, you will not be able to finish it off. One of the things that I really want to talk about this is when you take up tasks that overwhelm you, you tend to procrastinate. So your procrastination has nothing to do with your timing. It's to do with your skill management.
Hmm.
It's how are you, putting it down. If
Right.
something takes, less than 5 minutes, do the task first. That's how
Hmm.
you kill the procrastination. So say, for example, you have a list of things to do, but if out of all the tasks, if something is going to take 5 minutes to finish, let me wrap that up. Okay, that's the thing. Also, you have to play a lot of reward system when you do the, with the overwhelming yourself. Like I mentioned about the chunking it down, right? When I finish certain tasks, I just take it off that okay, checklist done. And when you look at that checklist, that, oh, you're done with this, it basically acts as a reward system in your mind that I finished this, I can finish this as well, like the step two as well. So it boosts your productivity. It doesn't overwhelm you because it gives you much more practical approach to work, and also it puts you into a state where it's pushing you out of your comfort zone. You're
Hmm.
okay, checklist done, done, done. And I have a habit of, before I go off to sleep, when I chunk things down, it gives me a sense of euphoria where I know I finished everything today, and then you sleep with that peace. So it's very important also for a lot of people. Why they overwhelm themselves is because they want to finish 10 tasks a day. Don't do that. Take two, but give your heart to it. Make sure that you uh, always choose quality over quantity.
Hmm. I think it makes sense now that I think about it, because you don't ever actually get much done, and you constantly
Yeah.
start doubting yourself. You think about all of these crazy situations that could end up happening. You keep imagining scenarios that could go wrong, and you're not really doing the work.
Mm.
I
Yes,
think
absolutely.
that's the craziest part of it. So I probably it's the wrong question to ask you, because I think it would go on for a long period of time. But I really wanted to get your viewpoint on this before wrapping it up. So why do you
Sure.
think we crave attention so much? Like even the people that deny it, or maybe you reach a point when you don't. But I think, is it something in human biology? Is it something the way our mind works, that we are always trying to get to the center of attention, or we're inherently wired to be at the focus of people, or how do you
Well,
view it?
in that in that case, everyone, I'll tell you something about this. So
Hmm.
for everyone, why we seek more attention is because your self-worth is low. When your
Right.
self-worth is down, okay, you do not want to seek attention and you're good with it. For
Hmm.
not everyone who say is being chattering, maybe you are in a setup of group, or maybe you're there together. If someone, see, there are two kind of approaches. Of course, someone is going to come up and speak to you
Hmm.
because not speak to, but just generally conversate and get into the chattering mode for different reasons. One, of course, someone who has the knowledge and someone who just wants to put out with no need of validation or seeking approval from someone else. So in that case, they know that your self-worth, your self-esteem is great and good, all good and everything to go. But there's someone else whom you are talking about is about seeking approval, attention. That's when this is when your self-esteem is down. This is when you think you are not great at something. And now coming back to why this happens is because you the person that you are is basically a concoction of your experiences, your exposure, your upbringing, and the kind of mindset you've been fed with. Okay, so suppose from your growing years, you've always been said that you're not that good enough, or you're not good enough at something, or maybe you've been said that you're not great at math. And what happens is, during your growing years, maybe once or twice or thrice, someone just said that, "हाँ यार, I mean, you're not that great at math. Maybe सही नहीं है." What happens with the regular approvals from someone else, and even for you, with the self check is what we talk about. You have confirmed the belief system that you are not great at math because you messed up a couple of times. Okay, so when you talk about the approval or seeking attention, there are different approaches to it. Like I mentioned, it's no one size fit all. Everything, because psychology is tailor made, your mindset is tailor made. Everything,
All right.
because how you're getting influenced during your growing years. Your parents are the most influential people around you. Then your teachers. So the kind of exposure you've been getting, that shapes you and your mindset. And that's how the kind of approach you have towards life shows up the kind of exposure that you have. But the best part, I'll tell you, in your growing years, you always have the choice. You always have the choice to let things, what to basically sink in. Something that's going to
Okay.
allow you to grow or no. So, talking about the matter that we were talking about, that is attention.
Right.
So, a lot of people seek attention. One is to just give out the value and strike conversation with people. And there's person B who tries to grab attention because lack of self-worth, lack of self-esteem, lack of seeking approval and validation from someone else. And when we talk about the seeking of approval and validation, that comes from, so everything stems from your low self-worth, that you don't believe in yourself. And when you talk about the lack of self-worth, that again boils down to how you've been exposed in your life, what
Right.
kind of influence you've had, what kind of exposure and experience you've been through, and what you've been fed here in your mindset. So
I think very
unfortunately,
appropriate.
kids
Yeah.
don't know how to filter the information. So that's why it's said that, as a child, it's very important. No, as a parent, it's very important to give out information to your child, which is going to allow them to grow. And because for whatever they hear, it's going to be a matter of truth to them. They don't know the art of filtering. Today, if someone, say for example, you believe, for since childhood you believe that you're not good at singing, you're not good at singing, you're not good at singing, and if someone comes and says that, yeah, you know what, Ripu, you're not good at singing, and then you stop that. And somewhere when someone comes and says someday you were just singing, and someone says, you know what, Ripu, you're good at singing, yeah, why don't you try it? You're not going to take in that information because since childhood you've been fed, I am not good at singing. So what happens when something is repeating time and again, when any sort of information is being repeated, that forms your belief systems. And based on your belief system is when you seek approval and attention, or you don't seek approval or attention.
I think the most appropriate answer, and I'm sure people will. I'm sure people
Relate
will
to
benefit. Yeah.
it.
I don't know if I relate to
Relate
it.
to it as well.
Yeah, but I am sure
What's
people
your
will.
take on that? When you talk about attention, then what do you think about it? So I would really love to know your approach to it as well.
I don't know.
What
I
do you
think,
think? Why people do seek attention? If you have to, do you seek attention? That's the point.
do I seek attention? I seek attention from people that I admire, I think. Probably that's the point. Like, I would want to, I don't know if it's a conscious or an unconscious process, but I would definitely enjoy the attention of people that I admire because that would make me feel important. And I don't know if
Yeah.
that is something, yeah, that everyone has
So
or, yeah.
if you noticed, I'm sorry to cut you off, but if you noticed, you just mentioned that that will make me feel important, which means somewhere here at the back of your head you feel fine. I'm not that important, but if
Right.
I get the approval and attention of someone I admire or maybe
Hmm.
I'm a fan of, I feel good. So again, you're feeling good because of the external factor,
Right.
not because you believe that you are important, irrespective of whether you get someone's attention or no. See, for a lot of people, they don't care about someone's attention because their self worth is extremely high and good.
Hmm.
Also, if that self worth, if you don't know where to draw the line, can actually turn into ego.
Right.
Okay. So if you think that I am enough and I am important, you are not going to seek. You are not. Your worth.
Edit this.
Yeah. So your worth is not defined by someone's attention or no. That's the point.
Right.
Okay. So your worth, someone else's attention does not define your worth. But right now, like you just mentioned, that for people you feel and you admire, you really look up to. So their attention makes you feel good, which means somewhere you are, letting someone else define your self worth,
Hmm.
isn't it?
I sure am.
Now, can you relate to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's great. I think my psychology is working well.
Yes. Yeah, psychology is definitely working, ma'am. So
Yeah.
I would never want to put an end to this conversation, and I think I wouldn't know of the people
We can
that
have a
listen to
part
this.
two of this conversation, by the way. We can have a part two of this conversation again.
Surely we'll have many parts of this conversation, but I'll definitely be in touch with you now.
Absolutely, yes. It would be my pleasure too.
We'll have you again. We'll talk about a lot of more stuff, but I think, yeah, first of all, like, I want to thank you because I can now remember this conversation as a journey from starting to my childhood, talking about how I stumbled upon self mastery, to knowing your story. That was a pretty awesome mini description. I think I really enjoyed it.
That's great. That's great. I'm so glad to be here. And to be honest, I'm extremely, extremely delighted to share the view, my opinion, and a basic value to all the
Hmm.
listeners right now. Because if you can take up something from here, please do. Because it's just going to make you and turn you into a better person. That's all. And that's what I think my motive, even in terms of Instagram channel is, and even on my YouTube, I've been trying to give out the value because if it can help you transform certain areas of your life, I think there's nothing like it. Nothing like it.
You're doing a pretty good job right now, and I'm sure you'll be on the up.
Thank
And
you so much.
it was a pleasure talking to you, Ekta ma'am. We'll
Same
definitely
here. Same here.
bring you on again, and I hope we have another intellectually stimulating, or I don't know, psychologically active conversation.
I think, yeah, in intellectually and emotionally stimulating conversation. Yeah, of course. Why not?
Thank you so
So
much
thank
for
you so
doing
much
this.
again, Riku, for having me. Thank
Yeah,
you for
thank
having me. Thank you. It was really my pleasure to get into a conversation with you.
And with this, we conclude this really awesome conversation. I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll be back again with another great episode.